It's official. I love Kenny Omega. And I know that everyone talks about how great of a wrestler he is, but that had nothing to do with why I am so high on the best bout machine right now. And it has nothing to do with his bouts. It has everything to do with his snide comments about Will Ospreay's kids. About the fact that he called security on Will. And then he proceeded to say, yeah, walk out of here with your tail tucked between your legs. You called security on the guy. Holy cow, this Kenny Omega, where's he been? Where has he been? This guy is so great. This guy is so awesome. I know this is AEW where the best wrestling happens, or something about wrestling that happens here in AEW, but I'm not gonna lie. Like, he was so freaking entertaining. He was laughing like a maniac at the end. He was so freaking funny. That sit-down interview between those two, it ramped up. It was good, and then it got better, and then it got awesome, and then it got amazing. I loved that they talked about COVID and stuff. Like, I don't think I've ever seen any wrestling promotion really deep dive into that. It was very cool, and I loved learning more about Will Ospreay and his time and how, like, New Japan and all that stuff was going on, because I didn't really know about that, to be honest with you. I actually remember what was kind of sort of happening back then, because that's when Kenny Omega was stealing the belts and he was winning the belts and stuff. And I actually liked Kenny Omega then. I did not love Kenny Omega like I loved him tonight. Oh man. I know that Kenny Omega has to lose at Wembley, but like, I don't know. I kind of don't want him to now. He was so good. Hopefully he can lose and then instantly win it back like a month or so later. I hope that this Kenny Omega didn't just turn heel just for Wembley. I hope he doesn't just instantly turn babyface again, because he was hilarious. He's like, I'm going to respect you. Your mom's going to still respect you. What'd you say about my mom? Your mom's going to still respect you. Your kid's going to have to get a new hero after I beat his dad. Like, jeez. And he says, as he's walking away, like, diabolical. And he says, I liked how he also brushed off his, his, whatever it is, like, the thing that he had where he had some kind of illness or something, life-threatening illness, whatever that was, he dismissed it. He's like, actually, it made me a better wrestler. Like, but you Will Ospreay, your injury, not really. And I love that AEW actually remembers storylines, because as they were talking, and Kenny Omega was talking and bragging how he's gonna win. Will Ospreay at one point was like, yeah, but you wouldn't even be like this right now if it wasn't for how I said that you had given up, that I was sad for you. And then Kenny, and in my head, I was actually thinking that right before he said it, I was thinking, wait a second, why is Kenny Omega so confident right now when just a couple weeks ago, it was Will Ospreay that talked him into that kind of confidence? And then Kenny Omega addressed it instantly and was like, yeah, you only said that because you didn't think you could beat MJF. You wanted a weak version of me. And yeah, so like, they bring up the history. They remember the details. I'm a giant nerd. I'm the guy that will say, excuse me, but in Superman 75, this happened, so that means that can't happen in today's issue. Or I'll be like, yeah, Terminator, when they sent John Connor back, he shouldn't be able to father himself with Sarah Connor. Like, literally, I will argue the fine little details, because I'm a firm believer in the devil's in the details, and for them to address that, plus to fill us in on their history. I didn't really know their backstory about how what's his name, Don Callis, was really a part of it, and how Will Ospreay beat him with Don Callis, the Screwdriver. Now I'm thinking back, the Screwdriver, the one that they kind of botched with Jericho the other day, and that Kenny beat him even a long time ago when he was just a skinny kid. That was a beautiful segment. I loved that interview. I think I've heard that some people thought it went too long. I could have gone another 5 minutes. I could have gone another 5 minutes on that. That was great. And on top of that, I thought to myself at the beginning of the show, because they said they were going to have a sit-down interview, and then I saw they were going to do Mercedes Moné and Willow Nightingale were going to do a sit-down interview also. I thought to myself, why would they do two sit-down interviews like that, 2 backstage interviews in one show? That is not a good idea. I was wrong. It might have not been a good idea, but they made it work. It was the Willow Nightingale and Mercedes Moné stuff was great too. It was great too. I can't believe it. I could not believe they managed to pull off 2 awesome sit-down interviews. Like, for real. I highly recommend watching the Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega stuff. Like, throughout the show. At the end of the show, too, when Will Ospreay comes down, and then Kenny Omega suddenly starts abusing his EVP stuff. Like, and he says, "Get him out of here! Get him out of here!" He what is that? Hidden blade or something? Like, he hits him with his move while the security guards are holding him. It's so great. I love also Kenny Omega said this a while back, and I remember it. He said, he's like, didn't he say like the championship belt, like kind of like, I don't know, it kind of turns him. He turns him into like a green-eyed monster, like an evil version of himself. And now that he has the belt, he's turned into that evil version of himself. Like, yes, please. And then he does the one-winged angel on the outside into a table. Now, I know people have told me that the one-winged angel is like the most devastating move of all time. So, like, while that doesn't have the same kind of impact on me, because I'm a newer fan of AEW and Kenny Omega and stuff, I do recognize from what people told me that was a big deal. So I hope there's some ramifications on Will Ospreay next week. But yeah, this was great. I loved it. And when the show started tonight with Will Ospreay and like 2 other guys from his past. I forget what they were called. And then they were fighting the Don Callis family. I remember in the beginning of the show, I was like, I guess this is okay, but it's kind of a letdown. Like, why are we doing this? I wasn't feeling it. I mean, it wasn't like it was a bad match or anything, but I was really like, where's the angle here? Are we just going to keep them apart? Are we just going to have these 2 nice guys kept apart? So, like, the first matchup of the night, Will Ospreay wins and stuff, but I wasn't feeling it at that point. And I thought this was going to be a very mediocre show. It was the United Empire. And I know they have a history together, but I was like, I don't really care about their history together. I want to see Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega going at it. And they went at it. I got what I wanted. We had also Okada expects congratulations if he wins the AEW title, and so does Kyle Fletcher. And then Takeshita came out. I guess Takesha's done with the G1 Classic or tournament or whatever. There's some tournament that goes on in Japan, and AEW guys go over there. I think Takeshita has like a dual contract. From most of the stuff that I know about this kind of like little details is what I read in my comments. Because when I say stuff like, yeah, I was really feeling Takeshita when he got turned on by Kyle, but then he just doesn't show up ever. I don't know what's going on, but now I don't like Takeshita as much as I once did. And so a lot of times you guys and gals put in the comments what's happening, and I really want you to know I appreciate that. Now, sometimes some of you are really rude about it, and I guess I don't appreciate your rude ones, but the nice ones that are just like, hey, let me just fill you in. Just here's some information. Even knowing that, I would have rather them just not. I guess I would have rather Tony Khan, if he knew Takeshita was going to have to be gone for the G1 tournament classic, then I would have just not done that turn back then, and I would have just waited for now to start that angle. But it's probably like, because they're all out in whatever it is, all in is so like close, they probably, I get it. The timing's probably a little off and scheduling's a little weird, but yeah, that's just me. But I do appreciate everybody filling me in, and I want you to know that I absolutely do read every single comment. Usually for the first 3 or 4 days, I read every comment, and then even after like a week or so, I still even read the comments. So thank you, everybody. Even the mean ones. But you know what? Feel free to still be mean, because I like the engagement. Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay, they have their sit-down. Great sit-down. Not a fatal 4-way, but a 4-way for the TBS champion. We got the Chris Statlander, Maya World. Why is her name Maya World? Is it like Bobby's World? Just like, I don't know. Or is World just her last name? Or is it just because like it's my world and you're all just living in it? Is that what Maya World is? And then we have Chris Statlander and Hikaru Shida. Maya World won, and I guess that's an upset. You know what, though, I don't appreciate? Where's Takesha? Not Takesha. Tekla. Where's Tekla at? I loved Tekla. I get it. She needed to lose so Willow Nightingale and Mercedes Moné could have their matchup. But, like, why are we taking her off TV? Like, she could still do something. Like, have her in this match. Have her going for the TBS title. Fatal 5-way. Still got FF there, but I wish... I'm not a big fan when you just take people off TV for no reason. Willow Nightingale and Mercedes Moné, they have a brawl. I haven't seen one of these in a while. So they're talking. Mercedes Moné... I feel Willow had the better of Mercedes Moné, although Mercedes Moné had the best lines, but overall Willow did better. But when it was all said and done, eventually Willow just says, I'm done with this, takes off the earpiece, and then she goes searching for her. This was very reminiscent of when Samoa Joe did that with Brock Lesnar a long time ago, and I always thought that was so cool and interesting, and I haven't really seen it again until tonight, so I really was like, yeah, I love this, and I love that they were like, okay, screw it, let's go. They fight, they brawl, and then Mercedes Moné's taken to the back. Mercedes Moné's kind of going on this, like, you're a bully angle. I'm not sure if I like that, but, you know, whatever, you're a bully. I would like to see more of it, I guess. I need to see more of the you're a bully angle before I pass judgment on it, but I just like the fact that Mercedes has someone that she can't conquer, and I wonder, do you think Mercedes has to win, right? She has to win. I don't know. I should do a prediction video. Maybe next week I'll do a prediction video. We have a bunch of people come out to chat, like, say we are the trios champion. Bandito, Brody King, and Adam Page. They come out, like, because there's just a lot of brawling going on. Oh, it happened after the Jay Lethal Jon Moxley match. Those guys had a fight, and while I have not really connected with Jay Lethal, I thought this was I think the commentators did a really good job of putting him over. I really liked how the commentators were like, yeah, Jon Moxley has not beaten Jay White at all. He's 2-0 on him. They did a really good job of catching me up to speed on their little whatever. And I also know that since Jay Lethal has been back, he's always thrown at least 1 or 2 shots at Jon Moxley. So I was actually somewhat kind of sort of interested in this, and from that perspective. So tonight was the first step in the direction of liking or connecting, at least, with Jay White. It was a really good match. I feel like Jon Moxley, like, he usually puts on a really long match no matter what, but tonight I felt it was justified because Jay White is definitely a big name. I don't really know his name, but I can tell that he's a big deal, or at least he's at least a high mid-card guy, and that's someone I can see putting a long match on with Jon Moxley. I don't like when jobbers put on a long match with Jon Moxley, but so I did like this. And then it was kind of cool that somebody pointed out, I'm not sure if it was a YouTuber or if it was somebody on commentary, but they pointed out that Jon Moxley he shook the hands of Jack Perry last week, but he wouldn't shake the hands of Jay White. So that was like, And I kind of like the Continental Classic prospect of, could we get Claudio versus Jon Moxley? And then I'm thinking to myself, what if Claudio wins? How would that look in the actual Death Riders? I don't know why Claudio just doesn't get championship opportunities. I wish he could be a champion. I really pulled for him in WWE, and maybe there's just something about him that, like, maybe he doesn't want to be champion. I don't know. Like, has he ever fought really like a good long program? I think he's only had like one program in WWE. That was against Roman Reigns when we just knew that it wasn't going to happen. So like just kind of killing time for Roman. Has Claudio ever had an extended feud for the title in AEW? I wonder why not. Maybe he's one of those nice guys that he's so nice. He's like, I'll just wait my turn. And then his turn never comes because he doesn't speak out for himself. Niall McGuinness versus the CMLL champion, Hiro Hechicero. So my feelings is this: you don't job out someone else's champion. So if this is their world champion, I don't like this. Now, I'm not saying that don't let Niall McGuinness or whatever his name is, Niles, lose the match, but I am saying don't put Hechicero in the tournament. I don't like it. I just don't like it. Back in WWE, we had Dominic Mysterio fought Oba Femi one time for the King of the Ring, and Dominic is the AAA champion. And I said, Oba Femi should not be beating the AAA champion. Everybody thought I was saying that Dominic should be beating Oba Femi. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, don't let the AAA champion lose. Don't put him in the tournament. Just don't put him in the tournament. Have Oba Femi beat someone else. Have Niles beat someone else. Don't put the CMLL champion in it. That's like 99 out of 100 times I'm going to say don't job out another champion. I said that about, I think, Persephone the last couple weeks. But, good match. They told us good story of the injury and stuff. Kevin Knight. It was nice to see Kevin Knight without Don Callis. I do like Don Callis, but I don't think Kevin Knight should be a part of that. And Kevin Knight comes out and he starts, blabbing. And then Darby Allin comes out and Kevin Knight says, you got to empty out your pockets. I want to make sure you're not going to attack me. I don't got my people here. Let me see if you don't got a flamethrower. And I think they should have, while he was emptying out his pockets, that's when the pyro should have went off. But they waited till like a minute or two after for the pyro to go off. And it was just like, Kevin Knight should have stalled him there so the pyro could have went off. And then I would have liked to see backstage that the Don Callis family had like kind of commandeered the controls. So like I think that we could have worked that a little better, but at the end of the day, then Kevin Knight beats him up. And I guess, I don't know, maybe like, do you think Speedball should have came out here? Because it does seem like Speedball is still kind of hovering around Kevin Knight. I don't know. Maybe not. But we beat up Darby Allin. We do a coast to coast with the chair on him. So that was pretty sweet and wicked. And like, oh my God, Darby, you're going to die one day. We put Darby on a stretcher and we have Sting's kid, Steven Bohr something. He was like, oh, are you okay? So that was, looks like we'll probably get that matchup. So that'd be kind of, speaking of Dominic, that kind of reminds me of Seth Rollins versus Dominic Mysterio in his first match. We're going to have Kevin Knight versus Sting's kid in his first match. He's built though. I wonder how old he is. Is he getting started late or is he just like tall and jacked? We also have, in regards to so Jon Moxley beats Jay White. Then the dogs come out. Then just a ton of people come out. I did like, eventually Ricochet comes out and he's like, okay, wait, everybody, wait. Okay, now you can go. Like, he literally made everybody wait to say something just to say, okay, I'm ready to hear what you got to say. Kevin Knight, Brody King, and, not Kevin Knight, Hangman Page, Brody King, and Bandito, they're in the ring. They're like, the trios champions gotta be at Wembley. We'll see you at noon or high noon or the Shadow or something. I kind of like that because it played off of their cowboy gimmick. Let's meet at noon for a showdown. And I like that. Later, we do see Swerve say, all right, be careful what you ask for. He said anybody can show up. So New Day, they're coming. Can't wait. Be cool if they rode in on unicorns, right? Throwing pancakes. But yeah, so that's going to be cool. I know the New Day have to be baby faces for at least a month or two to get all the cheers out, but I do hope they go heel. I honestly, I just prefer almost everybody heels. Not gonna lie. Did I double back? Takeshita did come out and beat up. Kyle Fletcher, and then Okada never came out and helped. So there is intrigue there. This was a good world building episode for All In. This was a solid world building episode for All In. So I give them a lot of credit there. We had the final match was Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks versus more Don Callis family. And Don Callis never came out, which was weird because there's Don Callis everywhere. And this will lead to the Bucks will win with Kenny Omega. Then Edge and Christian will come out at some point to help them. They get kicked. Christian walked out very slow. They brought it to the back, and that's where all the Kenny Omega stuff happens that I was talking about earlier, where he just goes completely off the deep end, and he's like security. He beats up Will, and Kenny Omega was just brilliant for everything from I kept an eye on that young rookie. He didn't impress me, but I saw the potential till you only beat me because you had Don Callis. So it's not really, this isn't a rubber match because your first time you beat me was tainted. He owned Will Ospreay, which is good because it builds a lot of sympathy for Will Ospreay. So Kenny Omega was just he was an evil supervillain in all the good ways. Someone once compared AEW to anime, and he did kind of feel like an anime character when he was just laughing. Ha 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 ha. So, great stuff. Oh, I forgot. Andrade. MJF sent some guy to read Spanish, and Andrade came out and beat him in 3 seconds. And then there was technical difficulties because it was a pre-tape. It was a pre-tape of MJF. And they started playing that early, and then when they played it, at first I was like, what was that? And then when they played it again, so that kind of took you out of the moment, but, it's MJF, he's funny, so it was fine. The real story of the show was the star of the show was your AEW champion, Kenny Omega. Great stuff right there. This was a good show. It started off, I was not feeling it. I was not feeling it when it started off, but then it just ramped up. Kenny stole the show and made the show. And Willow and Mercedes did a good job too. The overrun, I don't like the overrun. I know a lot of people will be like, why complain when you just get more wrestling? Well, that means less sleep. I got bills to pay. I got to get up early and stuff. So that's why I complain. I just like to know when things are going to end so I can plan my day. You know what I mean? But overall, great stuff. AEW is good. I like it. No problems. All right, boys. All right, girls. See you. Bye.